collab has been hosted by Alicia over at My Wandering Path. And please do check out the other home educators and homeschoolers in this collaboration. You'll find it all in the playlist Alicia's kindly set up. Now, Earth Day is a global date in our calendars, and it can be traced back to the 1960s. And this is when activists began to raise awareness of environmental issues such as pollution. And Rachel Carson actually wrote a book titled The Silent Spring, which is actually worth the read if you can get hold of a copy. And it was highly influential at that time. And Morton Hilbert, alongside the US Public Health Service, then hosted the Human Ecology Symposium in 1968. And this focused on the human impact on the environment, and also the impact that our environment has on our health. And in a way, this symposium led the way, and could even be considered the beginning of the Earth Day celebrations. Over the next 2 years, Senator Gaylord Nelson, environmentalist Dennis Hayes, and Hilbert worked to organise the first Earth Day, and this was held in 1970. But it's also worth noting that activist John McConnell also arranged a day to honour the Earth in 1970, and this was a few months before, and his celebration fell on March the 21st, 1970, and that date was chosen to coincide with the start of spring, and eventually these two separate Earth Days merged into one. Now, the name Earth Day had been suggested by many, and was a bit of an obvious choice in my opinion, if that counts for much at all. But the organisers, however, loved the fact that Earth Day rhymes with birthday. So April the 22nd ended up being the chosen date for Earth Day. And this was because they felt their main target audience was that peer group that were attending college. So college students and so on. And they wanted it to fall before exam periods, but not clash or coincide with other seasonal celebrations such as Easter. And April 22nd is also close to John Muir's birthday, which is April the 21st. And he was a well-renowned conservationist of the 1800s. Colleges and schools in their thousands celebrated the first Earth Day. And it is believed that over 20 million people took part. Initially, it was set up to be celebrated once a decade, every 10 years. By 1990, Earth Day had got so big that over 200 million people participated globally, with over 141 nations involved. And after such success, who could blame them? They decided to make it yearly. And the main focus of Earth Day is the environment, our relationship with the environment, and how we can live with the planet more cohesively, leaving less of a footprint, I guess. Participants tend to take part in a variety of activities, from litter picking, craftism, recycling, cleaning wells, streams and ponds, planting trees, and so on. Luckily for me, being pagan, a lot of this stuff naturally coincides with my beliefs and therefore my day-to-day living, my day-to-day lifestyle. And despite the fact that I'm only just starting to begin urban homesteading here in this new property, I have had an allotment before, and I have lived off-grid before, and I grew food for a long time before that in another urban homestead that I had in the past. So naturally, I try to enhance my connection with the earth on a day-to-day basis. It's a relationship at the end of the day. So I like to work on that relationship and invest time into that relationship. And as you know, I try to repurpose and reuse a lot of items. And like my greenhouse, for example, I've just pointed at it even though you can't see it. My greenhouse, for example, I got that free off Facebook Marketplace. So you went, took it down yourself, took it away, and you can rebuild it. So that's the process that's undergoing at the minute, and that was completely free. And that is now reused, repurposed wood. Because yes, it's going to be a greenhouse again, but it's a different shape, it's a different design, and it's a different style. And I've also given it a new lease of life with a good old lick of paint. My garden benches and tables were all repurposed and second-hand ones that people were getting rid of. And I also try and have that philosophy around the home as well. Most of the things in my home are second-hand or repurposed. Primarily because I'm old poor, not new poor. But still, that is still the case. And I will swear till I'm blue in the face that it's just purely sustainability and not the fact that I'm old poor. And last year, you'll be able to find that in our Exploring Nature with Children playlist. We actually did a huge project on John Muir this time of year. So this year I'm having to try and find a different focus. If you've watched our previous videos, you'll know that we've already planted our trees. And again, you can find that in our urban homesteading playlist and also our clinical herbalism playlist too. I will likely include an Earth Day related craft, which I will probably add on to the end of this video before I post it. But I prefer to get hands-on, get our hands in the soil and actually be practically doing something. So when I make up my mind what that is, I shall let you know. We'll likely do a science experiment based around Earth Day as well, and I will be sharing that with you too. In addition to that, we'll probably just have some family discussions around Earth Day. We have studied this before on a yearly basis, so I don't want to drill things into them too much because they already have this knowledge there. So we're just building upon that really and continuing our reverence of the earth this year. Now, this is one of my favourite resources for this time of year, and this is The Secret Life of Trees, Explore the Forest of the World with Oakheart the Brave, and it's written by Moira Butterfield and Vivian Minaker, and I hope I pronounced that right, probably not. With simple yet beautiful illustrations. This book is one my children absolutely enjoy. And I tend to just strew it around the place. So I'll leave it lying around where the children will find it and they can pick it up. And then if they come over to me, we can work through it together, talk about what we're reading and have some general conversations. But this is a book that I absolutely love this time of year. And next up is Nature Anatomy. And this is a firm favourite with most home educators I know. I think we all have a copy of this on our bookcases. Yeah, it's by Julia Rothman and it's a beautiful book, and again, perfect for this time of year. The illustrations are fantastic in it. The information is kept simple yet informative, but appropriate for all age groups. You can adapt it to all different ages, which is beneficial if you're teaching multiple age groups. They have all sorts of suggestions in here, but there's also lots on the earth itself. And it's just a beautiful book that really helps them engage. And Anthony and I were actually discussing doing some soil analysis. So comparing our soil from the front garden, the back garden, maybe taking a sample from somewhere out in the wild that hasn't been as adulterated, shall we say, as we tend to find our gardens are these days, because obviously lawns aren't natural, we all know that. It doesn't grow naturally like that in the wild. We've quite doctored it for our own purposes really. Our garden should be full, nature should be full of wildflowers, because that's what feeds our essential pollinators, for example. So we'll also be discussing why we as a family have a wildflower front lawn, and the importance of that, and the importance of those flowers, because lots of them have medicinal properties. And when we took them out of our diets, that's when we really started to see a lot of these mineral deficiencies and vitamin deficiencies occur, because so many of our natural weeds are full of these beneficial vitamins and minerals. So that'll be another topic that I'll be covering with the children on Earth Day. But as I said before, Anthony wants to do a soil analysis. So we're going to compare various types of compost. So ericaceous, maybe a bit of mushroom compost, multi-purpose and so on. We'll probably also compare the soil from the front garden and the back garden, as I mentioned before. May take some from the woods and then take some samples from relatives' gardens maybe, and just compare the different types, because obviously my mum's soil is very clay based. So it'll be interesting to see all the different readings we get from that. But I think that'll be quite a fun experiment for Earth Day as well. So I'm now slightly better prepared, and I have printed off some resources for us to do that will cover Earth Day and tie in with it nicely. We're going to obviously have to spread this out throughout the week, because I have my exams at the weekend, so I'm not here. And the children are staying with grandparents so that I can focus on my exam weekend. Normally they would come with us, but this time they're staying with grandparents. So as I explained earlier in the vlog, I'm going to do some resources with them and spread them out over several days. So I'll show you what I've got. So this wonderfully ties in, and this is from Twinkle, and they're doing live lessons which start tomorrow, which is actually Monday for us. So they're doing a whole botany week. So throughout the week they're going to be covering different topics in botany and putting up free resources to go with it. And it also ties in nicely with the paw print badges. It's like a unit study they're doing together. So this is the plant guide, and I'll just show you. Got some questions on the front and information about different plants. And Anthony's got one as well. There we go. That's that resource, and that will tie in with the live lesson tomorrow. And then they've got this project, a greenhouse diorama progress tracker, and this is where they're going to make their own greenhouse. And again, this is the Twinkle resource with the paw print one. So if you're into paw print badges, you may be doing this yourself. And I just thought this was cute because obviously we've been making our own greenhouse and the children have been watching the progress of that. So I actually thought this tied in really nicely with our actual family lifestyle, coming at our life, our day-to-day life. And it's beautiful when you can do that, because it does solidify that learning so much better, in my opinion. Hands-on lived experience. And obviously this is something that they can help with other than painting, because they have been helping paint fences and woodwork in the garden, and they have been helping me plant things. So this will be tomorrow's activity. We'll be doing that in the afternoon, and we'll probably be doing some science first in the morning. And then there's this mini beast hotel, and now I'm thinking we may use wooden ones. I'm not sure if I'll actually do this one, because it will, I mean, it would just biodegrade in the end, so I might do, because it is a fun one that they can do. So I'll see. And in keeping with Earth Day, when we're doing the greenhouse, we're going to be recycling Easter egg boxes to make it out of. This one, obviously, it would have to be plain cardboard, so nothing was to leach into the soil. So I'm going to have a look around, see what we've got, and see whether this one's going to be possible. We've got a nature wind chime, and I always think these are such fun activities, and it gets the children outdoors, connecting with nature as well, being observant. So I may set up a scavenger hunt, and then once they've got back from the scavenger hunt, we can actually make this out of it. Now, I can never really get Anthony to do art. Due to his autism, he doesn't like getting his hands dirty or anything like that on his hands. So he can be quite difficult with art. So this next resource is primarily for him. But I am going to let him have the option of joining in or not. And it may end up being a case where I end up doing the painted bits for him and he then does the cutting out. We'll see. We'll see where he goes. And this one is great, because it also shows how different substances repel each other as well. So it's actually quite good for science. It combines science and art together. And these are the little characters that they would then stick on afterwards. Because this activity, they use a wax crayon, a white one, to draw waves on the paper, and then they paint over it with a blue watercolour to give an ocean effect, and then stick their characters on. And then they have an Earth Day picture sort, where they choose what's good for the earth and what's not good for the earth. And these are the pictures. Anthony's unlikely to colour his in, Nimue will colour his in. But he does like joining in on little things like this that are themed around occasional days for Nimue's sake. They enjoy doing them together. And as we do these activities, if you've watched my other playlist before, you will know that I will be sharing these as we're going through them as well, the progress of each one. So Earth Day this year actually falls while I'm at university. So it's not really leaving us much time to do much, and obviously the children will be elsewhere with it being a weekend. So we're actually doing our Earth Day a few days before, but because of the day that we leave on, it leaves me really only the Tuesday to do it on. So that Tuesday we're going to be doing our Earth Day activities. But yeah, on the actual day I will be going on a nature walk around the environment that I've actually booked to camp in that weekend that I go to university, because I prefer to camp where I go. I can take my own caravan with me. It's all specially adapted for my needs, and I just prefer having my own space really. So I'm taking the caravan with me down there. It's actually exam weekend, so I'm really nervous as well, but fingers crossed. But it is on a beautiful, wonderful nature reserve, so I'm really looking forward to actually being in that surrounding on Earth Day. It'd be quite nice. So I'm sure if you head over to my channel on that day, you will actually see some beautiful picturesque walks and maybe even some foraging. In addition to those resources, the children have also been helping me out in the garden. They've been amazing, helping me put beds together because we're doing no dig gardening here. I'm growing food in the back, and the front garden's dedicated to wildflowers and their space. But obviously wildflowers are very medicinal too, so I've been very selective with what I put out there as well. But they've been helping me with that, and we're also doing a living hedge. So they helped me plant all the trees, and even Nimue had to go with digging that. So I'll show you a little couple of clips of what we've been up to this year, because we've also been building a greenhouse. Nimue's dad helped me out with that, and he's been building that for me in the back garden, and it's coming along brilliantly. The children have helped me paint it all, and you know what, they've done a really good job. They have. And we're having to do everything in a way where I can take it all down if we have to move, so everything is temporary, because obviously rented property, I can't do anything too much. But yeah, growing food out the back, and we're doing things like fruits and so on in the front as well. Got to be careful, you see, because you can't really grow food in the front here. So that's like herbs, wildflowers, and then my living hedge, which will have a couple of berries on it. So you can check out those videos too, because I do have full videos on all our urban homesteading. But I wanted to show you a couple of clips of what we've been up to this month, because obviously we celebrate Earth Day every day here. So I will add on some clips to the end of this, and please do head on over, see the playlist that Alicia's put together for everyone, and check out them other playlists, because I'm sure they'll have a lot more suggestions than I do. So thank you for watching on this rainy April day than it is that I'm recording this on anyway. The weather's not been great here. It's really put a pause to all my garden plans for spring, but that's spring in England, I guess, isn't it? The rain's very much needed. It really is.
The different things that were inside that flower. So petals, I know what petals are already, and I knew that was pollen that was.
So thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out my playlist that you can find on our channel, and also the playlist that Alicia's put together for this collaboration specifically.